Thanks for joining us for this first look at election results. Get ready for a front row seat to the action. I'm Natalie Bombke.
And I'm Mike Flannery. You see U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth, who has just been named the winner of a second term. Let's hear her acceptance speech.
From Michelle Obama to sure, I guess even her husband Barack, Illinoisans have led the way. We've started the businesses, broken the barriers, and set the milestones that have helped make this nation's impossible story possible. Because to me, Illinois is a 58,000 square mile community whose people see the inherent value in one another, who look out for each other. Whether they earn their paychecks planting soybeans near Urbana or teaching kindergarteners on the south side of Chicago. Whether they spend their days supporting our C-130 fleet in Peoria or helping lead their local union in Granite City, rolling the steel that helped to build this great nation. Our state has paved this nation's path forward in a million ways, both literally and figuratively. Ever since we built America's first elevated electric rail line back in the 1800s, every generation of Illinoisan has made down payments on our infrastructure that pay dividends for all of us who are alive today. With every bridge that was fortified and every telephone line hung, they made our country stronger, supercharging our economy after World War II, helping small businesses keep the power on, and helping families stay in touch through better broadband too. We led this country's industrial revolution at the start of the last century, and I know that with the courage and conviction, the resilience and brilliance of all those who call Illinois home today, we are poised to lead this nation's next industrial revolution in this next century as well. From our natural resources, energy, water, you name it, to the human resources, our farmers, our manufacturers, our scientists, the list just goes on and on. We are a state uniquely positioned to keep powering this nation as we have done for so long. But we have to remember that what we've accomplished in the past doesn't determine what we will achieve in the future. So we can't let up now. In order to keep leading, we need to keep making the investments that make our families and our state as strong as it can possibly be. We need to build on the work of my first term, addressing the huge crisis that still affects too many families, including the 1 in 4 service members struggling to afford their family's next meal. We need to keep pushing to make pre-K affordable and accessible to all, to keep investing money in our public schools. We need to keep fixing our healthcare system, making sure that we look out more for that family in Cahokia Heights than the big pharma CEO who vacations in places like Mar-a-Lago. We need to ensure that no parent has to spend sleepless nights tabulating how to ration their toddler's insulin so that they have enough to make it to the end of the month. And we need to fight like hell to keep safeguarding the fundamental rights that our Constitution has long promised. You know, I went to war to defend that document, and if our nation called on me to do so once more, I'd pack my rucksack, put on my uniform, and climb back into my Black Hawk to defend it once again today. Because our Constitution means that much to me, and because it does so much to protect every single one of us. But lately, we seem to have moved away from the rights enshrined in its pages. We haven't done justice to the justice promised in its sentences and sentiments. So you better believe that in my next term, I'm going to keep doing everything in my power to change that. I'm going to roll my wheelchair into every office in the Capitol if necessary, working to ensure that our nation's first great pledge, that everyone has the right to pursue happiness, holds true all these years later. I am going to work to guarantee that everyone who calls this nation home is able to strive towards their version of the American dream, that every woman actually has a say over her own body, that Americans living with disabilities are able to get to work and have that work, that we are all able to love and marry who we choose, and that dreamers no longer have to worry that they'll be forced from the only country that they've ever known. And also that Jim Crow-esque laws don't prohibit anyone from voting come Election Day. That's what I'll be spending the next 6 years working for, thanks to each of you who cast your ballots these last few weeks. And thanks to each of you who volunteered for our campaign these last few months, caring so much about our democracy, so much that you worked day and night to ensure that our nation's next page is better than its last. So let me just do this. Hold me to every word I just said. Hold me to my promise to make things easier for that nurse who wrote me a letter terrified that she would not be able to afford her ailing husband's next months of medication. Hold me to my vow to look out for that corn farmer, that soybean grower, who's desperately trying to keep his family farm legacy alive, almost among a most unpredictable market and unending competition. Hold me to my pledge to keep fighting alongside those advocates in Chicago who understand that no elementary schooler should have to drink out of a lead-contaminated water fountain at recess. Or for the environmental engineers in Hennepin working to make biofuel not the exception, but the norm. Or for the folks in Fairmont City doing whatever they can to expand broadband access so every child in Metro East has the internet necessary to do their schoolwork. I will never forget the people I've met over the past 6 years as your senator. Your stories, your struggles, your hopes are what have fueled my determination to make your tomorrow better than your yesterday. Sure, I know that won't be easy. I know there are still some folks seeking to sow seeds of division among us. And I know that we're a union that, yes, at times has been anything but united. But the miracle of America is that when it looks like those worst instincts are set to prevail, we come together and we resist those instincts. We refuse to give in to that darkness. Black, white, Asian, Latino, gay, straight, transgender, you name it, we march. We speak out. We remember that we are the ones we've been waiting for, that we are the change that we seek, as a certain other Illinoisans who used to hold my Senate seat once said. We bend the moral arc of the universe, not waiting for anyone else to do it for us. We demand justice, fairness, equality, because we believe in the story, the power of this great nation. We believe that the impossible can happen to any one of us, that if you work hard, this nation will give you the opportunity to do anything you want, that even if you grew up hungry and nearly homeless like I did, you can rise, rise, rise. The beauty of America is that a little Asian girl named Tammy, who didn't speak English until the middle of her childhood, once led a bunch of Polish American and Irish American guys in her National Guard unit. All these tall blonde guys and me. And that this daughter of an immigrant who once had to earn money for her family by selling flowers on the side of the road gets to roll back into the Capitol building next term to keep fighting for all those who've ever been trodden down or counted out. So to all of those so-called leaders in Washington who act so scared of progress that they keep trying to divide us, that they keep trying to strip away our reproductive rights, that they keep backing the gun lobby, let me just say this. I hope you're ready for a fight. Because my titanium legs don't buckle. Thank you once more to everyone who scuffed up their sneakers working on this campaign. Thank you for pounding the pavement, for fighting for choice, for the climate, for justice, for working for a better tomorrow and the tomorrow after that. Thank you for putting your trust in me, for not sitting on the sidelines, but taking the mantle of our democracy and pushing it to make our country the one all of our children deserve. I promise to make you proud every moment of the next 6 years. Thank you.
Well, Mike, Senator Tammy Duckworth there, winning a second term against Republican Kathy Salvi.
Yep, and it was a very, very easy win. Now the Associated Press has declared Governor J.B. Pritzker the winner of a second term in the executive mansion down in Springfield.
We're going to be hearing from him in a short time. He's going to be speaking in the South Loop.
We're expecting him any moment, but let's take a look across the state line, across State Line Road there in Indiana. The AP has declared Republican Todd Young has also won re-election to the Senate. And the third big U.S. Senate contest in our viewing area involves incumbent Senator Ron Johnson versus Lieutenant Governor. You see there the numbers. Todd Young was 62%. We are still waiting for some numbers to be posted in the Ron Johnson versus Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes race up in Wisconsin. Let's see on the U.S. House.
Yeah, so we were looking at the balance of power here. We're going to bring up that graphic for you shortly. And all 435 House seats up for grabs, and we want to look so far at what the totals are. Republicans in red, Democrats in blue. 218 seats is what either party needs to control this particular chamber. Republicans have 48 seats so far, and Democrats 24, Mike.
Okay, and currently the Democrats, of course, have 50. Before tonight, and there were
right.
It was 50-50.
Right, 50-50 before tonight, right, and even.
Well, good evening, Illinois. Tonight, you made history. 4 years ago, I told you that we would think big, that we'd write a new playbook, that we would put government back on the side of working families, that we would be bold, and we didn't waste any time. We raised the minimum wage to a livable wage. We guaranteed a woman's right to choose. We balanced the budget, paid all our overdue bills, and got 6 credit upgrades. We expanded health care to 500,000 more people. We increased college scholarships for 26,000 more students. And we legalized cannabis. We created more small businesses than ever before, and we grew our economy to over $1 trillion. Just a few minutes ago, the news networks called this race in our favor. And I'm grateful tonight. I'm grateful tonight that Illinois continues a long tradition of peaceful and fair elections. And I am so thrilled to spend 4 more years as your governor. There are a few people that I want to thank this evening, starting with my wonderful wife and children. Public service is demanding, especially on the loved ones who sacrifice more than they asked for. So to MK and to Teddy and Don, thank you for supporting me in this endeavor. I love you more than life itself. To my running mate and the best lieutenant governor Illinois' ever known, Juliana, I'm privileged every day of this wild ride to have your partnership, share in your strength, and find joy in your friendship. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To my campaign manager, Mike Olin, and our tremendous staff, you are the finest campaign team anywhere. Two of the nation's biggest MAGA Republican billionaires, along with their teams of political grifters, they spewed lies and innuendo, and you showed them that Illinois is a state that stands up for working families and rejects their selfish agenda. To Ann Caprera, who can finish my sentences and almost knows before I do what my instincts are on every policy matter, the depths of my gratitude and admiration are endless. Most importantly, to the people of Illinois, thank you for placing your trust in me to carry out this mission for 4 more years. I won't let you down. Are you ready for the fight? Now, that's a question that I've ended a lot of my political speeches with during this campaign. But tonight, I begin with it. 90 years ago, Illinois elected a new governor named Henry Horner, who took office in 1933 during the Great Depression and when fascism was on the rise worldwide. Shortly after his inauguration, he delivered one of the most important speeches of his. In retrospect, his words were eerily timeless and prescient. Horner said, "We all realize that we are living in abnormal and unusual times, times requiring unusually clear thinking and sacrificial action. Do you realize that our vaunted civilization is at stake and the responsibility of preserving it is laid upon all of us who believe in sustaining it?" That was Henry Horner's way of asking his audience, are you ready for the fight? Well, when I was making the decision to run for a second term as governor of Illinois, I asked myself if I was ready for the fight again. Because this is a moment requiring a steel spine for the years ahead, as our nation's fundamental ideals are under siege. I love this job, and I've never shied away from its demands. I love you too. But if I was going to serve for another 4 years, I wanted to make sure that I was prepared to bring the happy warrior spirit into this job again. Because leading the fight in a battle ought to bring joy if the purpose is meaningful. Optimism in politics is often dismissed as Pollyanna-ish. But like most virtues worth cultivating, its power is in its humility. I admire happy warriors, and I think of myself as among them, because here's what it is to be a happy warrior: to find calm when the times are chaotic, to respond to cruelty with compassion, to gladly be the first to suit up for a worthwhile battle and be the last to give up in a difficult dogfight, to celebrate victory but never dwell in it, to laud progress but never let it be enough. And precisely when the battles are hard and the challenges many, that's when the spelunkers for misery feed off the dark fears that people harbor in difficult times. And that is the moment when a happy warrior can carry us forward and says, I've been in this dark place before and I know the way out. Let's be honest, the abnormal and unusual times that Henry Horner talked about are here once again. And just like back then, our values are under siege, but they are worth fighting for. And I will not let our challenges crush the spirit that I've always brought to this job. Facing this moment requires that every happy warrior find a little bit of a nomadic warrior in them as well. Facing this moment means fighting these battles together. Together we must be bold, and we must never shy away from our big D democratic or little d democratic values. Together with pride and dignity, today we reaffirm what we are fighting for. Jobs that lift you up, not wear you down. A quality education that's not just a prize you win for growing up in the right part of town or being born to the right set of parents. Access to health care that doesn't just keep you alive, but keeps you healthy. Better wages that fund joy and not just survival. A world that's just a little bit easier to live in, where it's not so hard to make ends meet. Climate and an environment that is made better for our children than the way we found it. Public safety that brings peace to our neighborhoods, justice to our communities, and addresses not only the aftermath of crime, but the causes of it. A world where public health policy is based on science, not fantasy. One where polio and AIDS and, yes, COVID can be eradicated by new discoveries and not just wished away by Facebook fakery. Schools where books are not banned, nor children shielded from the truth about all of our American history. Where this younger generation rising, a generation full of empathetic, courageous truth-tellers, are not robbed of the critical thinking skills that are their best armor against a world of swirling disinformation. A Supreme Court that cannot take away from a woman what they never had the constitutional or moral right to regulate in the first place. And to all of you, let me be even clearer. To anyone who thinks that they can come into this state and try to force some right-wing MAGA war on a woman's body, you will never get an inch of Illinois. And finally, here in the land of Lincoln, the home state of Barack Obama, the first state to ratify the 13th and 19th Amendments ending slavery and guaranteeing a woman's right to vote, we will never surrender in the battle against hate. Racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, we have conquered none of these obscenities. In fact, every effort to call them out has fueled the rise of a new movement devoted to their skillful repackaging, in the hopes that we will be so afraid of being called woke that we will be too exhausted to fight the next resurgence of the world's most persistent and ancient evils. You see, hate is a chronic condition. The patient can get better, but we can never stop being vigilant in preventing its return. Unfortunately, a cancer has spread through one ideological wing of this nation to infect the patient itself. They've had ample opportunity to treat the disease, and they have refused to do so at every turn. The result has been treasonous insurrectionists tearing down the doors of the U.S. Capitol. The maiming of Capitol Police, and an attack on the 82-year-old husband of the Speaker of the House with a hammer in his own home. There's no nice or easy way to say this, but until the Republican Party is ready to expel the extremists in their midst, we need to do it for them at the ballot box. The fight for democracy, the fight for freedom, the fight for liberty, the fight for decency should be peaceful, but not be timid. It needs to be out loud. It should afford no politician a convenient rhetorical hiding place. You don't get to wave a moderate flag from your front porch while you're having a picnic in the backyard with insurrectionists. And don't claim that the Republican Party is being labeled unfairly. Because here we are, 2 years into cleaning up the wreckage of Donald Trump's presidency, poised to watch this man announce his return to national politics within days. You know why? Because GOP politicians, with the exception of only a few souls, are too cowardly, too simpering to support the best interests of the nation because they're afraid of being called insulting nicknames by a whiny bully. To the fake patriots and their enablers, you don't love the United States if you're not willing to defend it against a man who would destroy it. Donald Trump is the modern embodiment of tyranny that our founders feared the most. So don't lecture us about norms or typical political practices. Against a party that nominates and endorses anti-Semites and racists and anti-immigrant zealots, appeasement and complacency do not work. I know. My family fled that kind of tyranny, and I helped survivors build a Holocaust museum. You know what works? Winning works. When the rights and freedoms of our most vulnerable people are disregarded, when the welfare and education of all of our children are under siege, when the guardrails of our democracy, the load-bearing walls of institutions of government, the freedoms that this state's most famous son died to protect are under attack, well, then winning is not a luxury but a necessity. So yes, Illinois, I am here and I am ready for the fight. Are you ready for the fight too? These days ahead will be hard, but do not tell me the fight cannot be won. The fabric of our nation has been frayed and torn before, and Illinois has always had a large role in putting it back together. This state is a special place. This sacred patch of land sandwiched between great rivers and a great lake keeps finding a way to produce great people. Whether your bread is served at Blackbird Bakery or Brown Sugar Bakery, whether your beer is poured at Galena Brewing Company or Revolution Brewery, whether you like your short rib at Broad Gauge or Virtue or 17th Street Barbecue, whether you're a Saluki, a Wildcat, or Fighting Illini, Illinois' excellence defies division. Our land is as beautiful as it is vast, and our people as kind as they are courageous. Over the last 4 years, you have found a million different ways to show the world that goodness is a choice that so many people here in Illinois make. Like Chef Q of Evanston, who turned her successful catering business into a meal delivery service for families in need during COVID. Or the Granite City High School Student Council, who spends the entire year raising money to distribute Thanksgiving dinner to over 150 families in need. Or Rabbi Yosef Shanowitz, who on July 4th of this year rushed to the Highland Park Hospital to go door to door for people of all faiths to provide counseling and healing. At every possible opportunity, Illinoisans reach for small moments of joy and great heights of achievement. From street performer Andrew David serenading Chicago with the song Hallelujah during the early days of the pandemic, to Naperville teenager Lucy Westlake becoming the youngest American woman to summit Mount Everest, To Kimberly Adami Hasagawa, putting a smile on my face during the worst days of the pandemic with her Spritzers with Pritzker Twitter account. Our people are rich in the things that make life grand. We have earned the right to take pride in this state. And I remain humbled that you've chosen me again to be your governor. 4 years ago, I told you about my mom, about the struggle that she waged with alcoholism that ultimately took her life. And I told you how the burden of anyone who loses a parent young is to feel the weight placed upon you of the potential of your parents' unlived years. Never has that responsibility seemed more important to me than right now, in the battles for choice, for justice, for freedom that my mother thought that she had won before she died. So I choose to fight. I choose to fight to protect Illinois families. I choose to fight to protect our workers. I choose to fight for women's rights, for civil rights, for voting rights. I choose to fight for the better world imagined by those who never let their hopes be reined in by their experiences. I choose to fight the fights my mother never gave up on, the fights she left for me to finish. Henry Horner said something else that night back in 1933, and it's his words that I want to leave you with. He said, "The only way to carry out any great purpose is not on your shoulders, but in your heart. Carry it on your backs, and it may tear you down. Carry it in your hearts, and it will lift you up." Horner was right. So Illinois, together we will carry in our hearts the great purpose of our time, so we will survive and thrive and love and heal. Thank you, Illinois. God bless you, and God bless this great state.